Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman in studio on Monday, March 19th. The winter season is officially over, but apparently, Kevin, Mother Nature not getting the message.
Honestly, when is the snow going to go? I need warm weather back here in Connecticut. I'm tired of the snow. I think a lot of people can agree with me as well. Maybe the skiers, I think, are happy to see some snow still in the mountains, but other than that, I think a lot of people are ready for this snow to be gone.
Let's find a way to get a good compromise here. We'll just bring the snow a full month earlier. Those skiers can finally get on the mountains in January, and then we'll be done with it by the time we get to March. Obviously, there is anticipation of more snow coming on Wednesday this week. Follow along with coffee breaks at 11 a.m. As we keep you posted on that. But that could play a role with our spring sports tour schedule, Kevin, and we'll touch upon that a little bit. But hopefully that won't be the case.
Well, now I'm starting to wonder, we talked about this last week, how are these baseball fields holding up? And softball fields, that's a big question. You got the snow on these fields, you got to wonder about all the towns and all the high schools, how they're treating their baseball fields, and not just baseball and softball, other sports as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know lacrosse pretty much just plays on turf, so they're okay.
Yeah, but it's tough. That's a white ball in that white snow. It could be difficult to see, especially if you're staring at the Fortnite screen too long. It gets tough, man.
Yeah, listen, if you want to get players to come play in the FCAC, you might want to throw some Fortnite up like Michigan does for football. I saw that video.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's go back. We'll look at this past weekend. We had championships galore. I want to start with the big one. You had the lone remaining FCAC school in the winter, Greenwich taking on Fairfield Prep, boys hockey, Division I. Number one versus number two. It's a matchup we wanted to see all year long. Very balanced first period. Cardinals outskating the Jesuits through the second period. They're leading 2-1, and then, as Prep has done all year long, finds a way. They take home their 14th state title in program history, defeating Greenwich 4-2. They finish off a perfect season in the state of Connecticut, Kevin, and it was probably a lot closer and not how Coach Sather drew this game up, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the best team in Connecticut named the state champion this year.
You're right. And with McGee between the pipes, another good performance from him, 24 saves, 2 goals let in. But McGee, again, just a great season for him and the Jesuits, another great season. They had a lot to prove this year. Coming out, a lot of people were picking them or Greenwich to be in this final game. It turned out to be these two teams, the one versus the two. And you got to give kudos to both squads on great seasons. Greenwich bouncing back from last year where, not as strong and a lot of promise this year, a lot of great players. Alex Mosey had a terrific season for the Cardinals. Coach Rourke did a terrific job with this group, and I still think that despite they're going to lose some key seniors, but I still think there's a lot of good juniors and sophomores, just like Ben Nash in between the pipes, who's only going to get better for this Cardinal program.
Prep will certainly be amongst the favorites heading into next season when the dust settles on this year, but they are going to lose a huge chunk of this year's core, so big rebuild there. And no player is going to be more difficult to replace, in my opinion, than Jack McGee. The young man was nothing short of spectacular in this state tournament and is the reason that they are state champions again. For Greenwich, you're going to lose the skater of the year in Alex Mosian. You lose a guy like Connor Santry, a couple other seniors up for it. Matt Bogger, I know we gave Matt a little bit of a hard time. He took some undisciplined penalties in some of the bigger games this year. He was great in this state tournament as well. He had 3 goals in the last 2 games alone. His line mate Matt Davies, another player that the Cardinals are going to miss. But Ben Nash is going to have another year under his belt. I think they're bringing up a lot of talent through this Greenwich program, and where so many other coaches right now are fighting to keep their players at their programs and avoid leaving for prep schools, Coach Rourke has put Greenwich in a position where there are kids in the town of Greenwich now saying, well, maybe I don't want to go to Brunswick, or maybe I want to go, to the other side of town, and there are more playing opportunities there, and look at the things that they're doing, So I think Greenwich is going to be in a good position to get back to where they were when it's all said and done.
I agree. I think he's developing a winning culture there, a culture that players today want to play in. And you're right. A lot of these players could go and play for a prep school or academy, and they're deciding not to do that, and they're staying at Greenwich. And you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Rurick and the coaching staff, and everyone at Greenwich High School for kind of developing a new culture, and that's what Chris Rurick wanted to do when he got the job last year. In his second season now, I think players who are coming up the ranks now are realizing what kind of a coach he is, what he wants to do with this program, and what he envisions for the future. And that's what, at the end of the day, if you're a hockey player in a high school program, that's what you want. And I think you're going to see Greenwich, despite losing in 2 championships this year, in the FCAC title game and the state title game, I want to see how they respond next year. A little chip on their shoulder maybe. But again, I still think Greenwich is in a good spot, despite losing good players that are seniors this year to graduation. I still think next year Greenwich is going to have a promising team.
And listen, this is the big thing now, though, that you have to be concerned about, is this was Greenwich's year. Yeah. Everyone had them as the team out of the FCAC with the best path or the best chance to get to the Whale and potentially knock off Fairfield Prep. They let one slip away in their eyes, especially playing at home. You'd have to think in the FCAC championship against Ridgefield. But great job moving past it, getting back to Ingalls, and just it's a prep team that ultimately by the end of the year, too strong. Now you look ahead to next season, I think it's a much more wide open conference. Do you see Greenwich as a definitive favorite when you look at, what next year could shake out like?
I still think next year, I think New Canaan's going to take a step forward next year. I think they have young players coming up, so I don't think you're going to see New Canaan struggle like they did, especially early on. Darien's still going to be competitive. I think Richfield and Greenwich are going to stay. Those two are going to be, back and forth between who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2 in terms of best teams in the FCAC. Question is, some of the Richfield players, do they stay?
Yeah,
do they go to a prep school? That's the toughest question, and that's what we're going to see. Hopefully, for Coach Gallagher's sake, these players like Nikki Cullinan and all these guys are going to stay and try and repeat as maybe a 3rd-time championship for the Richfield Tigers next year.
Let's say that either all 3 stay out of Cullinan, Walker, Forest, or only 1 leaves. Where do you rank Ridgefield Greenwich?
I give Greenwich the upper 9,
really?
Only because it's tough because you're looking at 2 great goalies too. Ben Nash is going to get better next year.
Yep.
And Gordon, only a junior, going to get better next year again. That's a tough question. I still think that, Greenwich, they both have actually a lot of juniors on the roster I saw this year, and I still think they have players coming back that are strong players. And Richfield's going to lose another well-loaded senior class again like they did last year. I know losing Liam Galloway is going to hurt.
Liam Galloway, I think you take a bigger hit on the back end for Ridgefield.
Yeah.
Whereas Greenwich is going to lose a lot up front. I agree. The separation will not be that much, but I think right now you're bringing back essentially your entire top 2 lines. If you're Ridgefield, you bring back your goalie as well. I think maybe you got to precede the Tigers number 1, Greenwich 2, and I think New Canaan and Darien will be interchangeable. My bold prediction, Kevin, looking a full 365 days in advance, Dylan Shane, goalie of the year in Division I next year.
That's a strong pick. The great story again this year for him and New Canaan Rams, and you gotta give him a lot of credit, and for the rest of the team too to rally behind him, give him ounces of confidence throughout each start. So again, just an awesome story for him.
I still don't think Gunnar Granito should have been first team all FCAC. I'm just saying. So, well, hockey season is officially done. I'm going into hibernation, hence the beard. I'm not getting over this one, man.
Well, I was gonna say you're starting your playoff beard, but I think our Rangers.
Forget the Rangers. It's just it was any hockey playoff whatsoever.
True.
At least they're better than Steve's Islanders, So.
True. What are they? 1-7-4 in their last. Something like that.
Why they won a game is beyond me. Let's take a break, Kev. When we get back, we're going to look at the basketball from this past weekend. A school taking home their first ever state championship. Good time to be a Catholic school program in Connecticut. That's next on Nutmeg Sports.
Voted best gourmet to go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman. Big shout out to the Notre Dame of Fairfield Lancers taking home the Division I basketball championship this past weekend from Mohegan Sun. 65-60, they defeat Sacred Heart. First title, state title, Kev, in program history for the Lancers. Good time to be a Catholic school in the public school league.
Yeah, certainly.
They've got that going for them right now. But this is a very impressive win, very impressive run. And, of course, it's this whole year for Notre Dame. When you look back on it, you're always going to talk about the big comeback against Danbury on their way to this championship.
You look back, defeating Notre Dame West Haven 70-50 in the second round, then going up against Danbury in the quarterfinals and being down in the second half and making that great comeback, and just a collapse by Danbury in the second half, and overtime. What a great game that was. Tight to the end, and winning by 6. A great game, and then beating Bassick, not an easy thing to do. Bassick, one of the strong teams here in Connecticut in boys basketball. Their boys basketball program has always been strong. Beating them pretty easily, and then going on winning by 5 against Sacred Heart. And it's Sacred Heart. You got to give them a lot of credit too. They took down East Catholic by 1 in double overtime in the quarters, and then coming up, winning by 1 against Windsor in the semis, and then losing by 5. Tight game. Sacred Heart as a 4 seed coming in and taking care of business, getting to the championship. I know this one's probably a tough pill to swallow, but for Notre Dame Fairfield, got to give them a lot of credit. Great run by them. Obviously, you got to think that win against Danbury maybe rallied the troops a little bit here and pushed them forward to the championship game, ultimately winning it. So props to Notre Dame Fairfield. Awesome one.
Notre Dame of Fairfield comeback versus Danbury. Better or worse than the Nevada comeback versus Cincinnati yesterday?
I gotta give credit to Notre Dame Fairfield, man. Come on, these are high school kids playing against a good Danbury team that won the FCX. I gotta give my cap to Notre Dame Fairfield on that one.
Yeah, and it's a Danbury team that had the opportunity to manipulate the shot clockless era.
Exactly.
I guess is what we're gonna start calling it. Immaculate, your Division II champion. Our director Mike Suppy talked a lot about what they can do and how they like that style of play. I think you sort of saw it. Amity struggling shooting the ball, but they're suffocated to just 34 points in that championship game. How about Division III's Waterford putting up a 90 spot on Avon?
My goodness, 90-67. You look at that, and that's just if you're at Mohegan Sun this past weekend, you saw a weekend. Phil, I know it was a big weekend of basketball.
It's a lot of basketball.
It's a lot of basketball, and I know in terms of college basketball as well, we got March Madness going on, but you're seeing some not lopsided scores, but you're seeing a lot of basketball where you're seeing two sides of the spectrum where teams are blowing out teams, and then the rest there are some close games. I know we saw that on the girls' side as well in the tournament. But again, give a lot of credit to these high school boys. They're playing tough basketball, and for Division III, that's a big score, putting up 90 points.
Oh, absolutely. That's That's a legit score. Then you had Division 4 winner was Colby Cathedral, and Cromwell takes home Division 5. On the girls' side, congrats to Mercy. Best team all year, without a doubt. Strong run for them. Finishes with a big win over Hall. Rom takes down Farmington. East Haven, that was, I think, probably the best championship game we saw up at Mohegan. 49-47, the last second lay-in to give the Yellow Jackets that victory. And Coginchug with the victory in Class S. It was a lot of fun this basketball season.
Oh, yeah.
It's a basketball season, though, that the FCAC is going to want to quickly forget.
It is, and we just looked at Class M for Career Magnet to be a 20 seed. You know, they had a really great run for them, and I know they fall short, but again, that's where they were in the beginning part of the season was, looking up some of their, schedule, and, they had a tough start to this season, and to find themselves in the month of February playing better and better each day in each game, and to finally find themselves in the state tournament to qualify and get in as a 20 seed, to go up against number 2 East Haven and to only lose by 2 at the last second. I know it's a tough one probably for Career Magnet, but they have to feel proud of the way that they finished off the season considering where they were in the early part.
Obviously, girls hockey not affiliated with the CIAC or recognized as a sanctioned CIAC sport. So you went all of hockey divisions, all of basketball, both boys and girls, without the FCAC winning a state title. First time that's probably happened in a while, Kev. Greenwich took home double L in the opens in girls indoor track. Boys swimming, they did the same. In wrestling, Danbury takes home the opens and the double Ls. So you have, and as well in boys indoor track. So some of the less familiar sports, let's say, okay, you bring home some state championships. But where do you see this winter season for the FCAC with the big sports?
It's interesting. You look back at where we were for the indoor track season. It's tough because you look at indoor track, and I thought, you look at Greenwich and Danbury. These are 2 FCAC schools. On the girls' side, you got Greenwich. On the boys' side, you got Danbury. They're both representing, the FCAC in indoor track on both sides of the spectrum. So I think I have to go indoor track because those are the 2 teams that I think that were the most impressive. I think they had the most impressive run.
I really think that those schools did a great job. This is good, and I'm telling you right now, outdoor track and field, I think we're going to see the same thing with the Greenwich girls dominating there. This is a very special class. It's going to be a lot of fun getting to catch up with them on the spring tour. Danbury, I expect they'll be right there in the mix again, should at least take home double Ls, if not both. But for the FCAC to be shut out of basketball and hockey, that's tough. That's tough, and I think that's going to leave a little bit of a sour taste in their mouths. Let's take a break. I want to dive into that a little bit deeper. We'll look ahead at our spring sports schedule. That's coming up next. Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Sail on a summertime adventure with Sail Away Sailing School. Located in Captain's Cove Seaport in Bridgeport, we're sailing June 18th through August 10th. 2 sessions offered daily, Monday through Friday for ages 9 to 15. Have fun, make friends, learn to sail. Visit teamsailaway.com.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during Ram Truck Month, get up to $14,000 off on all in-stock 2017 Ram 1500 pickups. Come in and see us for details. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Ridgefield, PambyZone.com.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play.
Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Frank Granito, Kevin Coleman back on Nutmeg Sports on the HA Network. More impressive run for you in the postseason, because I think these were the 2 best teams of the state tournament. Greenwich hockey, Trumbull girls basketball.
I want to say Greenwich hockey. I think you look at Trumbull, and this is no slight to Trumbull. We've seen them in this position before. We're kind of, every year now, you kind of expect Coach Tobich to carry this team to the FCAC championship game, and you expect him to take them pretty far in the state tournament. And they got to the semifinals and tough loss there, but you look at Greenwich where they were last year, and going out throughout the season, I think I have to give it to Greenwich, considering they lost in the FCAC final to Ridgefield. For them to bounce back and get themselves in another championship game, in the state championship game against Fairfield Prep, I think I'm going to go with Greenwich in this one.
What if I had said Ridgefield hockey versus Trumbull basketball, girls basketball?
That's a better question.
That's crazy.
It's. Can I say a tie? Because
That's fair. They
look
did the
at
same
it,
thing.
They are the same. And I picked Greenwich because of
they would go to the championship.
Well, yeah, and also because of they didn't struggle last year, but it just wasn't the Greenwich ice hockey program we know last year. And
That's
it was,
fair,
it was
but
first year.
if you're separating this year from history, just as
okay.
itself,
okay.
You don't have a state champion out of the FCAC. Who was the most impressive team in the postseason in hockey or basketball?
I'm still gonna go with Greenwich.
Okay. That's fine. I think you could argue Ridgefield hockey's run was just as good.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit a prep team a round earlier than Greenwich did, but they also beat Greenwich in the FCAC championship. The Trumbull girls basketball team, really the lone bright spot for the FCAC in the girls postseason.
It's
a really, really good Mercy team that, they.
And you can also look at it this way because, we talked about all throughout their basketball season this year, how they're able to bounce back, and especially with freshmen contributing in a big way. I think, yes, you could obviously lean towards Trumbull because of, losing someone like Claudia Tucci last year to graduation, and to come back and have Julie Keckler having another terrific season, Ashley McGuire playing well. You can lean Trumbull. But I just think that in terms of, going from start to finish and the way that they, lose at home, technically, for Greenwich in boys hockey, for them to bounce back and get themselves to the championship game in Ingalls against Prep, and to play well, not well enough, but to play strong against Fairfield Prep in the championship game, I'm going to stick with Greenwich.
Let me ask you this. If you look at all of the winter hockey and basketball teams, all right, all together out of the FCAC, who is the team most likely to win a state championship in the next, let's go the next 3 years. So you have this freshman class in their time frame most likely to win a state championship.
In basketball?
Basketball or hockey?
Basketball or hockey. I'm gonna say Trumbull.
I think it is the girls' team, right? You have to.
I'm gonna say it's Trumbull because what Coach Tobich is doing there, what he's bringing to that program, the culture that he's developing, it's just almost absurd with how many strong girls basketball players there are in Trumbull, coming through the youth programs, climbing up all the way to the varsity program at Trumbull High School. They have freshmen who are making huge contributions to the team that won the FCX. I still think Trumbull is going to be a team to beat again next year.
Obviously, Double L, very, very tough, but you remember in 2015 and 2016, the FCAC did go back-to-back, and 3 of the 4 finalists in that span were out of the conference. So I think it's a Trumbull team that if they find a way to get, a good draw in the bracket, could have a really good chance. And you're really, it's going to hurt losing McGuire. It's going to hurt losing Julie Keckler, but, Cassie Barbado and Allie Palmieri arguably are going to surpass those 2 by the time their careers come to an end. I think they're in a really, really good spot. The problem with teams like Ridgefield, like Greenwich, or any of those other hockey teams, I look at how bizarre this tournament can be with the way overtime games happen. If the weather has to reschedule games or, be moved to a different location. There's a whole lot of X factors in the hockey playoffs, in my opinion, usually the biggest toss-up. Basketball right now, the FCAC is in dire need of that next wave of very, very good, talented basketball players. I feel like we've hit a little bit of a lull here after some years of very deep talent pools. They need that to come back, or the FCAC's in the back seat as for boys basketball.
So I was certainly in boys basketball. That's why I'm looking forward to seeing what freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are going to be able to contribute next year when they get to a year older, and maybe who's going to come in next. And you look around the spectrum, and it's you like Trumbull in boys basketball as well. They don't lose anyone to graduation.
Yep.
So Trumbull, again, not only on the girls' side but the boys' side, is a strong pick. They can learn from what happened in the FCAC tournament to get themselves to the championship game, and to lose to Danbury. Danbury was playing the best basketball of any team during the tournament, and I think Trumbull, Tamon Williams, and the rest of the crew are going to learn from this. Chris Brown is going to learn from this, and they'll take a step forward again next year. Looking around, I mean, Ridgefield, I know just from being around the high school and seeing what the youth program is like in Richfield and seeing what the freshman JV teams are doing. They have some promising players. Disappointing. I think Coach McClellan's going to try and revamp this roster. Losing Brendan McNamara is going to hurt, but you bring back James St. Pierre. I still think this team, I think Richfield's still going to be another good competitive team. But right now, I'm sticking with Trumbull basketball on boys and girls side.
All right. Let's look ahead to the spring here. We've got the 2018 Spring Sports Tour coming up. We hit all 17 schools, meet with all of the captains. Scheduled to start tomorrow at Greenwich High School, and then hopefully Danbury and Ridgefield on Wednesday, pending the storm. But as you look down this list, Kev, you think about all the teams we're going to meet with, one in particular for you right now that stands out.
Well, you got obviously, if you're thinking about spring sports in Fairfield County, you got to think about Darien Lacrosse.
That's not just Fairfield County. You're talking about the defending #1 team in the nation. So it's a good place to start. You're right.
It's a great place to start. Obviously, Darien Lacrosse on the boys' side, but the girls' side as well. We know how good the lacrosse program is at Darien High School. You look around. I mean, we talked about outdoor track for Danbury. I want to see how they do again this year. It's gonna be a fun spring. How's Staples baseball gonna do this year? They had a great year last year. I want to see how they bounce back. Coach McDougall. Obviously, we're not going to be at the ballpark at Harbor Yard again. It's Cabetta Field for the FCAC Boys Baseball Championship game. So I want to see how that develops. See how I've never been to Cabetta Field, so I'm looking forward to that. I want to Ridgefield Wilton. We saw them in the final. How great that game was. Billy Black pitching a 2-1 win at the ballpark at Harbor Yard. Baseball, I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a fun spring. Obviously, lacrosse is going to be great. Who's going to be that team that can keep up and play a perfect game against Darien Lacrosse?
I don't know that anyone has really closed down the gap just yet on Darien. I think we're looking at another 24 games, 26 games added to that win streak before the year is over. I really am looking forward to meeting with the girls lacrosse team as well. But I am excited to see the lacrosse programs at Wilton, at Ridgefield, at Staples, at Greenwich, all of whom, and New Canaan, of course, all of whom are going to be in that 2 through 6 position of the FCAC, 2 through 7. And quite frankly, right now, I think you're seeing Wilton, Greenwich really separate themselves. Ridgefield very, very close behind. Yeah. We talked about it a little bit last year. New Canaan is dangerously falling on being average in their own conference. I mentioned this to Mike Suppy earlier today. They are moving up into Class L. There is not going to be that de facto Division II state championship to fall back on if things come to a crashing end the way they did last year. Obviously, I'm very excited for the golf season.
Yeah.
We've got that back on the network this spring, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's another thing that Greenwich will be defending their title in. I can't wait to meet with their girls outdoor track captains. They were obviously a lot of fun. We saw them in the fall. They keep that same energy when we see them at competition. So you're right. I think meeting with Norwalk and with McMahon and Stanford High baseball teams is going to be really cool. They're playing up at Cooperstown on Sunday, April 22nd, and we're hoping to go with them. So talking to them about that, what that experience might be like. There's a lot. There's always a lot. Central tennis, my personal favorite of the spring.
One thing last year that I really enjoyed was that that Saturday, the last Saturday in April. I know we have it on the schedule here. Is New Canaan Darien lacrosse. You get to see a doubleheader in boys lacrosse is the game at 1, the girls play at 4. I'm looking forward to that. That was a great day last year. A great lacrosse, gorgeous weather at Dunning Field. I think this game is going to be at Darien this year.
That's right.
And I'm looking forward to that. That's just a good day of Fairfield County, good boys and girls high school lacrosse. It's just you're seeing a ton of players who have the ability to play at the next level, which is Division I lacrosse. You're seeing just quick, fast, athletic athletes on the turf. So that was a great day last year. And 2 close games. Darien winning. I think the New Canaan girls beat Darien, right, last year? Or was it a clean sweep for Darien?
It's always a clean sweep.
Clean sweep?
Always a clean sweep. Always. You know? I don't know. No, that was the great. That was the Darien coming back from 3 goals in the final 3 minutes. They won in double overtime, and the boys spanked New Canaan. You know what's really cool about that day? Last year it was the awareness for ALS and the cause for Graham Harden. On that day, a couple years ago, it was the Fight for the Cure, trying to battle cystic fibrosis at Darien. So they always, the 2 rivals, the 2 towns, do a really good job of getting together, finding a good cause. And we'll see that with a lot of these schools throughout the spring. I'm really excited, and hopefully with the start of the spring tour, maybe we'll get some of the spring weather to start up as well, because I know the commissioner of the FCX, Dave Schultz, is done with the winter weather in this season.
I can only imagine. And let's just hope those baseball fields get cleared off and we're ready to go for opening day.
All right, Kev, great job today. We'll check back in with you tomorrow morning. Hopefully, though, we are at Greenwich High School tomorrow, catching up with all their spring athletes. Kevin Coleman, Frank Granito. See you next time on the HAN Network.